Welcome to Retirement UTV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta. He is president and founder of Secure Money Advisors. How's that?
You're getting there.
I thought it was good.
I know. You did good. You
Right?
did good. Yeah, we still got a little bit of the R in there, but we're getting it.
It was
we're
a
getting
tiny
it.
R. It was the smallest R possible.
You know, it's been butchered all my life. So
I'm just going to have to go with Brian Q.
well, just think about all the good we're doing for charity. You know, every time
totally.
Cynthia gets my name wrong, you know, we're giving to charities. So, which we should be giving to charity for a long time now.
We've got to be close to $1 million right
Right.
now. I mean, really. So it's been a year
Yeah.
and a half of me.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Brian,
You still have the original phonetic
I have
spelling.
This with me, and so yeah. But
I know.
anyway, how
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Good. It's so good to see you too. Let me ask you a question, because I know that obviously things have been so extraordinarily busy
Yeah.
for you, Brian. What is life like in the office, and how are you balancing it all right now?
Very busy.
Yeah.
You know, I think the biggest challenge that most people are dealing with is the fact that, you know, we're dealing today with really kind of a retirement crisis, because 85 to 90% of the people retiring today are just not retiring with pensions. So more and more people are seeking financial advice because the responsibility of generating retirement income falls on them.
Yeah.
You know, if you go
Yeah.
back 30, 40 years ago, retirement planning was really, really simple.
Sure.
You know, you when you retired, you probably got a gold watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
you knew your retirement date.
Absolutely. It was marked on the calendar.
It was marked on the calendar. You know, and if you gave the company enough time, they would let you retire maybe after 25 or 30 years, and you'd have retirement parties.
Absolutely.
You don't see that anymore.
No.
Because, you know, today, employers have replaced guaranteed pensions with 401k plans. And really what that means is it means you're on your own.
Yeah.
You know, we call
Yeah.
it the yo-yo retirement plan. You're on your own. You've got to
Absolutely.
figure out now how to generate that retirement income for the rest of your life. So, you know, our office is extremely busy because, you know, with everything that's gone on with the pandemic, more and more people are taking early retirement, or they're getting bought out, right? Meaning, you know, the companies are buying them out and letting them retire earlier than what they could have. So people are calling the office and saying, look, my number one concern right now is the fact that I want to enter into retirement, and the only source of income that my wife and I are going to have is Social Security. And for most people, it's just not enough. I mean, Social Security was designed to cover maybe about 40%
True.
of the income.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so what's happening is people are, they're scared. I mean, I don't want to say scared. They're just,
Anxious.
they're anxious.
Yeah.
They need a system to be able to generate this income. Because if you think you're just going to go into your 401k plan or your IRA accounts and start withdrawing money with no system or process, think again. Because that's what's
Absolutely.
going to lead you to potentially running out of money, which for most retirees is the biggest fear, according to AARP.
Absolutely.
So-
In fact, I know that study that was done, they showed that most people were afraid of dying.
Yeah.
You know, it was
That's
seriously,
right.
but running out of money was even on top of that.
That's
That
right.
was
They
like
fear
the
they
number
fear
one
running
spot.
out of money more than they fear death alone. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing when you think about it, because I think no one wants to be a burden on their children, if you
I,
will.
I would
and-
feel that way though. I mean,
Yeah.
would you feel that way? I mean, if I ran out of money, I think
Yeah.
I think I'd rather die than run out of money.
Yeah, I know. I
and-
know.
Yeah, because I mean, now what? You know, you're maybe in your mid 80s.
Yeah.
And you're out of money. You don't even have the health, the physical health to even go back to work, really.
I know, and you don't want to unless you choose to. Let's say,
Yeah.
for argument's sake, that you retire, but you like want to do something.
Right.
You want it to be a choice, and you want to know that your guaranteed income streams are going to be there, so that working is not mandatory.
That's right.
But it's optional, Brian.
It's
Let's
exactly
talk
right.
a little bit about what you've designed,
Yeah.
the Right Track system. Let's go into that a little bit.
Well, yeah, the right track retirement is all based around determining whether or not you're on the right track. And the reason why we put it together is because the number one question I get every single day at the office is, we want to know if we're on the right track. Well, how do you
Yeah.
know if you're on the right track?
Yeah.
I mean, for most people, they just don't know because nobody's helped them understand what the right track really means.
Sure.
The right track isn't just having a mix of investments and hoping for the best. The right track really focuses on 5 key areas. Number one, and most importantly, is income.
Sure.
Because when we retire, the paycheck's going to stop.
Yeah.
But bills, taxes, all the things that you want to do, that's not going to stop. So we have to replace that paycheck. So income becomes the number one priority. So how are we going to create income? But not only that, how are we going to do it in the most tax efficient way? So taxes
point.
becomes number 2. Because taxes will be the biggest eroder of people's wealth. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to use a very extreme example here. So let's just say somebody needed $10,000 a month from their retirement account. And let's just say that they're in a 20% tax bracket.
Okay.
Well, distribution of your retirement assets is much, much different than the accumulation of your retirement assets, because when we distribute money, most retirement accounts have been tax deferred, which means people got a tax deduction for putting money in.
Okay.
But now when they withdraw it, they have to pay taxes on it. So let's say an individual wants $10,000 a month, and they withdraw that $10,000 and they're in a 20% tax bracket. Well, that means they're only netting out $8,000, right?
Sure, sure.
But what happens if taxes go to 40%?
Wow.
You know,
yeah.
and if you ask most people, you say, you know, you think taxes are going up or down in the future, you know, almost 100% of people will say, I believe they're going up.
Sure.
It's hard not to believe that they're not
Yeah.
going up.
How can we possibly avoid that, Brian, with
Yeah.
where we are with our debt as a country?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So number 3 is investments, because the investments that got you to retirement are not the same investments that are going to get you through retirement. So the strategies, the techniques that we've used to accumulate the money are not the same strategies and techniques that we use to distribute the money. It's
And
a completely different ballgame.
I love that you mentioned that, Brian, because it's so important to work with someone who specializes in the distribution phase
right.
of life versus the accumulation phase when
Yes.
you're entering retirement, because there is a difference.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference. And the last 2 things are your health care, right? Because how are you going to, you know, if you want to retire before the age of 65, you can't qualify for Medicare, right? So you got to make sure you have a good health care plan. And then number 5 is when the good Lord decides to take you home.
Right.
You certainly don't want to make the IRS your largest beneficiary. And they've done a good job in making you your largest beneficiary because the Secure Act, which was signed into law in 2019, which we can talk about on the next segment,
Sure.
really has made the IRS one of the largest beneficiaries. And folks, you don't want to miss the next segment when I talk about the Secure Act, because the Secure Act probably was one of the biggest tax grabs we've seen in history when it comes to retirement accounts. So for the next 10 callers who call in right now, we're actually going to be giving away a complimentary no obligation meeting for the Right Track retirement system. And we're really going to help you determine whether or not you are on the right track. So the things that I'll hear most of the time is people say, you know, Brian, I just don't know when to take my Social Security. What would be the best time to do that? Or they'll tell me they're not going to be getting a pension and they need to know how to generate monthly income from the retirement savings they have. Or they'll tell me, Brian, I'm at a point in my life where I can't afford to take another big loss in the market because I just don't have the time to recover. The Right Track retirement system will bring you through those 5 key areas that Cynthia and I just talked about: income, taxes, investments, healthcare, and legacy planning. So if you call 1-888-382-1298, again, that's 1-888-382-1298, schedule your complimentary, no obligation meeting today.
Brian, thank you so much. You couldn't have said it better. I think it's the perfect time for us to open up the phone lines to the viewers at home. Once again, as Brian mentioned, that phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 888-382-1298. You've worked your entire lives to get to the retirement phase. Don't you want to do that with confidence and know that you're on the right track? For the next 10 callers, Brian is offering you the complimentary consultation. So please don't miss the opportunity to sit with Brian. The number again is 888-382-1298. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break and talk a little bit more about the Secure Act, so please stay tuned.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have, by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retirement U TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Quaranta. I did the R again. President and founder of Secure Money Advisors. I'm telling you, we need the fishbowl right there.
I know. We could just keep dropping in quarters and dollars.
It's hilarious because I'm so focused on not saying the R that the R comes out.
The R comes out.
Anyway, Brian Q. We're
Brian
back.
Q. That's the best way. My dad was known as Mr. Q. My grandfather was known as Mr. Q. Right? I mean, when everybody at the office calls me BQ. Brian Q.
I'm just
because it's just
to
much
go with
easier.
that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right?
All right, BQ, let's jump into the
yes.
Secure Act. Let's talk about why that's important for the viewers to understand a little bit more in detail today.
Yeah, the Secure Act was signed into law in 2019, right in December of 2019, and they changed a couple of things. Number one, they changed the way that we can inherit IRAs. So right now, a lot of people don't realize this, and it was probably the best story that I've read in Money Magazine that really explained how much of a tax grab is there when you die by the IRS. So there was an article in Money Magazine about a son that inherited his father's $500,000 retirement account.
Okay.
His son's the primary beneficiary of the account. So he sends in the death certificate, he processes the paperwork, the 401k company sends the son a $500,000 check. A couple weeks later, he gets a 1099, which basically says that he took the money as income.
Oh,
so
boy.
now he pays taxes on $500,000 that year of income, but he's got to also add that to his income. So he's making $100,000 on top of it. So that year he paid taxes on $600,000.
Oh my gosh.
The article in Money Magazine went on to say that he paid over $240,000 in taxes that year.
Oh,
you're talking about half of the IRA wiped out because of not knowing how to distribute that money at death, okay? Which is called the inherited IRA or stretch IRA, which under normal circumstances, what we used to be able to do is pass those inherited IRAs off to our beneficiaries.
Okay.
The beneficiaries would be able to receive that money and they would be able to put it into an inherited IRA. Couldn't go into their IRA. If they put it into their IRA or their retirement account, it would become fully taxable. It had to go into an inherited IRA, which needs to be structured at death. Okay. Then the individual wouldn't have to pay any taxes on the money when it goes into the inherited IRA. They'd have to be required to take a little bit of money out each and every single year. The article in Money Magazine was talking about a son that was 47 years old. That son could have taken that money and distributed it to himself over the next 30 years of his life.
Wow.
Instead, he takes it all out in one lump sum and winds up with a $240,000 tax bill, and you're looking at the IRS becoming a beneficiary of almost half of that IRA account.
Well, financially, Brian, that can be devastating for someone.
It is devastating. Yeah,
They're
not planning for that, right? They're not planning for that. So under the Secure Act, they made it worse, though.
Yeah.
Because under the Secure Act, what they said is we can no longer transfer we can still transfer the money to the inherited IRA, but rather than being able to take a little bit of money out over the course of an individual's lifetime, they now want you to have all that money out of there in 10 years. So think about that. Now they've compressed the amount of time that they want all that money out, and you've got to pay the taxes on it. What people don't realize is the biggest taxable event that they're going to have is with their retirement accounts. I think it's the biggest bill of goods that we were all sold when it comes to investing for retirement, because the best account that we all could be putting money in is not an IRA, but a Roth IRA, right? Because now we're talking about going from taxable money to tax-free money. So the Secure Act was a big change. The other was RMDs.
Okay.
Most people don't realize that, let's say you're one of the lucky few out there that is going to get a pension. And let's suppose that you don't have to take money out of your retirement accounts because you got plenty of money coming in from your Social Security and your pension.
Okay.
Well, they're going to force you to take it out. And they're going to do that starting now at the age of 72. It used to be 70 and a half. Now it's 72. Well, remember, distribution, there's a lot of different rules when it comes to distribution. Different than accumulation, right? Accumulation is very simple. All you do is put as much money away as you can, try to get the best mix of investments.
Sure.
And you hope that the time you get to retirement, you got a big pile of money.
Absolutely.
Now it really starts, because the distribution, there's so many little traps and turns and that we have to be aware about. So the big one is the fact that the RMD at 72, if you don't take it, there's a 50% penalty.
Well, I was going to ask you, Brian, what if you forget to take it?
Yeah, it's 50% penalty. It's amazing.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
So you're supposed to pay, let's suppose you're supposed to take $10,000 out and you forgot to do it. That's a $5,000 mistake.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Oh my
$5,000 mistake.
gosh.
So why is it so important?
Unbelievable.
Tax planning is so important though, Cynthia, because let's use the example that I used on the first segment, right? An individual taking $10,000 out and they're in a 20% tax bracket and they'll net $8,000 with that withdrawal. And let's say taxes go to 40%, now they're only netting $6,000, right? If we convert that money from a traditional retirement account to a Roth retirement account, and now we're taking $10,000 out a year or a month in income, and tax rates are at 20%, we're going to get $10,000.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
If tax rates go to 40%, we're going to get $10,000. So this is why the right track retirement stuff is so important, because these are the 5 key areas that we really have to focus on. And again, income being the most important thing and taxes being the next most important thing.
Absolutely. Brian, what is the third most important thing?
Investments.
Investments.
Because the investments that got you through your accumulation years,
Yeah.
the mix of mutual funds or stocks or bonds or whatever, is not the same strategy you can use in distribution. Distribution becomes what we call a bucketing approach.
Okay.
So we have to have ultimately 3 buckets of money. There needs to be the short-term bucket of maybe 3 to 5 years where we can generate the first phase of income, again, because most people are going to need income.
Sure.
You have the second bucket, which is maybe 5 to 10 years of growth, and that needs to be invested moderately to conservative. And then you have 10 years and beyond, right, a bucket, which can be invested at a much higher risk level. So a bucketing approach is the way that you need to go, and there's a process that you use when you use this bucketing approach, and most people just aren't being taught it, right? What they're being taught is something called the 4% rule, where you have this bucket of investments, it's diversified in mutual funds or stocks, and they say, you'll be fine if you pull 4% a year out of there. Well, it's just not the way it works anymore. The Wall Street Journal and the Harvard Business Review have all written white papers on this saying, look, this 4% rule that everybody's been talking about for years on how to generate income doesn't work anymore because of market volatility, interest rates, and everything else.
Did that change due to inflation as well, Brian, 4%?
Yeah, well, they're saying now that the safe withdrawal rate, if you don't want to run out of money, because what we're dealing with is the fact that we've got life expectancy increasing, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
if you don't want to run the risk of running out of money, they're saying you shouldn't be taking 4% out. You should be taking 2% out. So think about that. If you were planning on a $1 million portfolio, planning on taking $40,000 a year or out of that portfolio, now they're saying you can only take $20,000 a year. And so the right track retirement system really is going to help you maximize the cash flow that you can get on a monthly basis and do it in the most tax efficient way. You know, if you've ever thought to yourself, you know, if you ever had questions for yourself and you're asking, you know, when's the best time for me to collect Social Security? Or maybe what's the best way for me to take income out of my retirement accounts? Again, most people are going to need some type of income coming out of their retirement accounts. Or maybe you thought to yourself, hey, I'm at a point in my life where I really can't afford to take a big loss in the market, because if I do, I just don't have the time to recover. The right track retirement system is going to help you address these issues, and we're going to show you the best practices in the distribution phase, which again, like Cynthia and I have been talking about, it's different than the accumulation phase. So folks, for the next 10 callers who call in right now, we're going to give away a complimentary, no cost, no obligation meeting at Secure Money Advisor. We're going to meet for about 45 minutes to an hour, and we're going to walk you through those 5 key areas of the right track retirement system. Take advantage of it. It's not very often that you have an opportunity to sit down with a licensed fiduciary at no cost. I've seen other people charge up to $1,000 or more for similar features or offers, but we're going to do it at no cost and no obligation. It's truly going to take the mystery out of financial planning, and it's going to help you understand what it means to have a customized income plan that literally can maximize and turbocharge your retirement. So if you call 1-888-382-1298, you can get that scheduled. Again, that's 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, once again, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 888-382-1298. We have to take a very short commercial break, but don't go away. We're going to have so much more when we come back. Stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retirement U TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Brian Q. He's president and founder of Secure Money Advisors.
So much easier, isn't it?
It's so much easier. It's just, yeah, I'm just going to have to stick with
Right.
that, but I'll have to try for the next few weeks
Love
that
it.
we're together.
I love it.
So Brian, all of this sounds amazing. And I know obviously the phone lines are lighting up like crazy, which we both love to see.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How do you design a plan for someone to make sure that they're on the right track?
Well, first off, isn't it just to think about going to a financial advisor's office, it just can be intimidating.
Sure.
You know, you're all of a sudden going to open up your whole financial world to these people, and you're scared of maybe being criticized or telling you that you have the wrong things or whatever it might be. And I think people have had bad experiences. You know, our industry is not created the best reputation for itself because, you know, there's been a lot of selling in our business, not a whole lot of problem solving.
Okay.
So first off, we have to understand that working with a fiduciary is much different because we're not commission-based, we're fee-based.
Yeah.
So our job is to first and most importantly provide a plan, right?
Okay.
And only once you have the plan put together can you actually go out and now start to find the appropriate investments that are going to help solve the problems. And everybody's situation is different. It's so unique. It's I hate to use such a cliche term, but it's like everybody's got their own unique fingerprint, right?
Absolutely.
When it comes to investing. So everybody's situation is different. So it really takes, a team of people, which is what we have at Secure Money Advisors, to really understand everybody's unique situations. So the first step really is just scheduling the appointment, right?
Okay.
Because we can't kick the can down the road and expect to solve problems and make changes.
Sure.
And this is certainly something you can't kick the can down the road with.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
something you don't want to procrastinate on. You want to take action now. So, but the first step is really just listening and understanding where you currently are, right? So what goals, challenges, obstacles might be in the way. And then number two is looking at what you currently have. Now, the idea is to keep what's good, right? There's no reason to get rid of everything. What's going good? Well, how do you know what's good and what's not good? Well, you've got to have something that tells you that other than an opinion. Right? Because anybody can give you an opinion of whether something's good or bad.
Absolutely.
So we use a very powerful software that just looks at the facts and the data. And we let the facts and the data drive the decisions. Not an opinion, not a fancy sales brochure, but facts, data, and math.
Okay.
Then from there, we can educate you on where you are and where you need to go. Right? And now we're teaching you giving you turn-by-turn directions of how you can improve your situation. I'll give you a great example. Number one is fees. Most people are paying a lot in fees and they don't need to be. Keep in mind, folks, fees will reduce your gains and they will compound your losses.
Sure.
Right? They will reduce your gains and compound your losses. Why do they compound your losses? Because if you're paying a lot in fees, when the market goes down, guess what they still take? They still take the fees.
Fees, yep.
So most people are paying way too much in fees. The other thing is most people are taking more risk than what they should be. Meaning they're taking a lot of risk and they're not getting much of a return.
Okay.
If you're going to be taking this much risk, you should get an equal amount of
you want a good
return.
return,
Most people are
absolutely.
taking this much risk and only getting this much return.
Wow.
So what if we could still get this? What if we could flip it? What if
Okay.
we could get this much return and take this amount of risk?
Yeah,
and we can do
absolutely.
that by utilizing a lot of professional management, tactical management, things along those lines. So the process is really kind of a two-step process. First, understanding where you are, us taking that information and doing the analysis with the software program that we have, and then getting back together and just looking at the facts and the data and the math.
Okay. Brian, I should ask you, how long is that typical first consultation with you, if you will?
Well, typically it's going to last about 45 minutes or so. And, but if we've got more time, sometimes it might go a little bit longer. We're generous with our time. We're not kicking people out at the top of the hour,
Absolutely.
If we don't have another meeting, so, we'll take as much time, and it really depends on how many questions they have.
Yeah.
Right? But if they come in prepared, we send them out a little intake form. They come in prepared with their statements and their questions. We get a lot done in 45 minutes,
Sure.
right? And we've got big screens in our office, which we bring everything up in, and we start looking at all the math.
Sure.
And then we start looking at what if scenarios. And when we're building a financial plan, we have to plan from worst case scenario. So if you're a married couple, we have to say, well, what happens if Bob dies first?
Yeah.
What happens if Mary dies first?
Yeah.
What's the drop in income going to be? Now, according to AARP, the average loss of income, if you're a married couple, when one of you die, the average loss of income is about 40%.
Wow.
That's a lot of money to
That
lose.
is. That
so
is.
how are you going to prepare for that?
Yeah.
Right? And those are the things that we got to think through. What happens if you have a health event?
Absolutely.
And you have to go to a nursing home. How are you going to pay for these things? These are all the bad things that we can have happen on paper. We want to make bad things happen on paper because that's how we can solve problems.
Exactly.
So that's what we're going to do. That Right Track Retirement meeting is all about helping you solve these problems. You're not there to get sold anything. You're not there to look at fancy sales brochures. We're there to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work and find out what problems we have and what solutions can we put into place to make your situation better. And that's what it means to get on the right track. So again, for the next 10 callers who call in, we're going to give you that Right Track Retirement meeting at no cost, no obligation. Mm-hmm. Now, I've seen others charge up to $1,000 or more for similar features. Mm-hmm. We're going to do it at no cost. It's literally going to take the mystery out of financial planning, simplify the entire process for you, and it's going to help get you on the right track. I'll show you how to reduce your fees. We'll show you how to build a customized income plan that literally can turbocharge your income. So again, for the next 10 callers, that's a Right Track Retirement meeting at no cost, no obligation if you call 1-888-382-1298. Again, that's 1-888-382-1298.
Brian, thank you for another amazing show this week. Most importantly, thank you to our viewers at home for spending time with us again. We appreciate all the questions that come in as well. Remember, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call today. That number is 888-382-1298. There's no question that Brian will not be able to answer, so please don't miss the opportunity to sit with him and plan your retirement. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back here next week.